my wife was still cursing at me. I worked so hard and got injured, but was fired by the factory boss, who didn't even pay for my medical expenses. I was also humiliated by my mother-in-law. How terrible can an honest man who is bullied by everyone do? In September 2006, Earl, not his real name, was at his doorstep when he heard a sound he would never forget. Earl is from Liyuan Village, Langfang City, Hebei Province, and is a marginal figure in the village. He and his wife Clara, pseudonym, live in an old courtyard in the east of the village. That day, he was coming home from the factory. As he walked past the door, he heard a woman's voice calling from afar. Earl thought, which woman is so presumptuous in broad daylight? After listening carefully a few more times, he was stunned. The more I listened to that voice, the more it seemed wrong. Wasn't that Clara's voice? My wife is cheating on me with another man. How can this be tolerated? Earl's face suddenly turned red. He hurried a few steps and rushed into the yard. The scene of pushing open the door made Earl's eyes go dark. In the inner room, there was a man and a woman lying on the bed. Their naked bodies were particularly eye-catching. The two men had obviously just had a fierce fight, even the bedding and pillows had fallen to the ground and were covered in dust. Earl recognized that the man was a bully in the village, nicknamed Jax. Under him was his wife Clara. Seeing Earl push the door open, Jax rolled down, grabbed a piece of clothing and put it on. What do you two mean? You shameless bastards. Earl held Clara's arm and reached out to slap her. Unexpectedly, Jax grabbed his arm from behind, pulled him hard, and threw him to the ground, cursing. Fuck you. Bye, let me tell you, don't take yourself too seriously. Earl never thought that when he caught the adultery, the other party would be even more arrogant than him. Having said that, Jax does have some confidence. He got into trouble when he was young and spent several years in jail. After he was released, he made friends with a group of hoodlums in the county town and made some money together. After returning to the village, Jax regarded himself as a successful man who had been in both the black and white worlds. If he disagreed with someone, he would insult and beat the villagers at will, and molesting women was commonplace. Although Earl was very angry at the moment, he lost 70 of his courage after hearing the roar from the fat-faced village bully. I could only keep mumbling. You two bastards, you will be punished. Jax ignored him and walked away cursing. What's even more outrageous is that Clara actually put on her clothes and walked out of the house as if nothing had happened. Earl, with a green glow above his head, sat for a while, and the more he thought about it, the more uncomfortable he felt. He was clearly the victim, but why did he seem to be in the right by a pair of lovers and bitches? He thought again that he was already very angry when he returned home this time. It turned out that Clara and Earl had been in conflict for a long time. She felt that her husband was useless and could not make money, and that marrying him was a complete concession. So for more than a year, Earl worked in a building materials factory near Liyuan Village. He gets up early and goes to bed late every day, hoping to make more money so that Clara will look up to him. Unexpectedly, due to severe lack of sleep, he confused the operating steps while working in the workshop and was hit by a machine in the shoulder, so he could not continue working. Earl went to his boss and asked for some compensation. Not only did the other party not even pay for the most basic medical expenses, but they also claimed that he had violated the work process and caused losses to the factory. You didn't follow the rules and the machine was almost broken. I'm glad I didn't fine you. You should be content. Earl was speechless and felt very wronged, but he didn't know where to appeal. He obviously doesn't know that the law stipulates that as long as the illegal operation is not intentional, it will not affect the determination of work-related injuries, and the work-related injury can be reported according to normal procedures. When he returned to the dormitory, he saw that the boss had his bed taken apart, obviously forcing him to leave. Earl had no choice but to swallow his anger and go home to recuperate before finding another job. I never expected that I would run into this kind of thing again. He wanted to call a few villagers to go to the village committee to seek justice, but after thinking it over, he felt embarrassed. I had no choice but to come to Jax's door alone and yelled. Mr. Wang, come out. I want to talk to you. A few minutes later, Jax, with a muscular body, walked out of the door with half a roast chicken in his hand. As soon as he saw it was Earl, he started to insult him again. What's wrong? Are you still looking for trouble? Let me ask you, will you still look for Clara in the future? None of your shit. Jax glared. She's my wife. Don't push her too far, I'll sue. Before he could finish his sentence, the other party threw the remaining chicken bones on the ground, rushed over and grabbed Earl's collar, and the two of them started to wrestle. Earl, who is just over 1.7 meters tall, is obviously no match for the village bully, who is over 1.8 meters tall. He was hit by a punch and his mouth and nose were bleeding. He covered his face and huddled against the wall. The other party refused to give in and pressed him against the wall. The wound on his shoulder burst open, blood soaked his coat, and the pain was excruciating. From now on, Clara is mine, Jack spat on his head, I can sleep with her whenever I want. If you dare to open your mouth, remember this beating today. These words lingered in Earl's mind for a long time. He felt that the whole sky was dark and he didn't know how to get home. After entering the house, Clara was watching Chow family courtyard in the inner room and didn't even look at him. Earl knew that his wife saw that he could not defeat Jax, so she became more confident. Moreover, he rarely interacted with the villagers for many years. Even if he made a big fuss, the villagers might not stand up to uphold justice. After much thought, it seems that the only way is to give in. Earl sat next to his wife, dragging his bleeding arm. You, as we are husband and wife, if you can help me bandage my wound, I will not care about what happened today. Clara glanced at him sideways, snorted, and went to the chest to get some cotton cloth and wrapped it around her husband's shoulders. From now on, don't mess around with that Wong guy anymore, okay? Unexpectedly, this sentence angered Clara again, and her face suddenly sank. If you don't want to be cuckolded, you can divorce me. But I don't want to leave you. You don't want to, but I do. Clara threw the cotton cloth on the ground. I don't want to live with a loser like you for a long time. What do you mean by that? Clara, tell me honestly, have I ever done anything wrong to you? Don't say that. I was really blind to marry you. You can't make money, and you can't have a child. You are really a waste. As soon as the topic was brought up, Clara started to talk non-stop, which then turned into verbal abuse. She was often gossiped about by villagers because she couldn't get pregnant, but she felt that it was actually her husband's problem. Seeing this, Earl told him about the injustices he had suffered in the factory. It's not that I don't want to make money, it's just that I was cheated by my boss. You are a coward, anyone can ride on your head, shit. Being insulted by his wife, Earl felt ashamed and anxious, and he did something no one expected. With a fall sound, a tall and strong man knelt on the ground. Earl pleaded with his wife, let's live a good life, okay? Stop messing around. He thought of his parents who divorced when he was young and his miserable life for more than 30 years. Having a home was his only hope. But Clara had no sympathy at all. She stood up coldly and started packing her luggage. Where are you going? Go back to my own house. When you've decided you want a divorce, come back and find me. Earl grabbed Clara's clothes and tried to win his wife back, but she said something that chilled him even more. Also, don't worry about who I go to see anymore. You can't control it anyway. After hearing this, Earl just sat on the steps, not moving. But he hasn't given up yet. The next day, he went to the village recruitment office to inquire if there was any new work available. But when those people saw it was him, they hurriedly shook their heads. The village was a society of acquaintances, and everyone knew that he had violated regulations in the factory, so no one dared to hire him. Unable to find a job and unable to make money, Earl became anxious and suffered from insomnia at night and could only drink to relieve his sorrow. A few days later, he had to go to Clara's parents' home again and try to persuade his wife to come back. However, Clara doesn't see him at all. Mother-in-law Mabel, pseudonym, was guarding the door and taunted Earl when she saw him. I scolded my daughter severely when she wanted to be with you. Now she has finally come to her senses. Is you pregnant? Your family still blames her, but it's obviously because your thing is useless and can't produce a child. I think you two should get divorced sooner rather than later. It will be better for everyone. My daughter wants to find a good family to marry again. Earl's head was buzzing with anger. But he was tongue-tied and couldn't say a few words to curse back, so he had to turn around and leave. I had only walked a few steps when, as luck would have it, I ran into the person I least wanted to see at the entrance of the village, Jax. Seeing Earl looking dejected, Jax became even more proud. He actually came up to Earl and patted him on the shoulder. "Where are you going?" "Buy some wine." "Don't fucking drink anymore, you look so sick." Jax grinned. "How about I give you a secret recipe to improve your virility?" Upon hearing this, Earl stood there, staring at the other person's face. "Why are you still angry?" "I mean, well, maybe you will be fine." Hee hee. When the people from the village who had gathered to watch the fun heard this, they all laughed so hard that they fell over. "Jax, if you keep saying that." "What?" "Come and hit me if you dare," Jax continued to taunt. "Should I say it or not, your wife is more capable than you in bed." The villagers laughed even louder. "Fuck your ancestors." Earl rushed over and punched Jax in the chest. The opponent was caught off guard and staggered. He was about to throw a second punch, but Jax's brothers hugged him and pulled him back. "You dare to hit me? I'll kill you." Jax was furious. He untied his belt and hit Earl on the head. His hands and feet were grabbed, so he had no choice but to surrender, and blood immediately spurted out of his nose. And just like that, the poor man was beaten up by the village bully again. Jax was still not satisfied, so he picked him up and pushed him into the sewage ditch at the entrance of the village, soaking him in sewage and mud. This time, Earl didn't say another word. He walked back home alone, trembling, amid the laughter of the crowd. Earl didn't drink a drop of alcohol that night. He lay in bed, thinking about what had happened in the past few days and all the misfortunes he had experienced in his life. He wondered if he was born to be bullied. What kind of person deserves to be humiliated like this? Thinking of this, something deep inside him was ignited. A huge amount of anger and hatred swept through the man's body, and his rage rose up uncontrollably. "I want revenge. I want to make these two dogs experience what it's like to be in hell on earth." Some crazy and cruel ideas were brewing in Earl's mind. The next morning, Earl went to the town market and brought back a sheep. The villagers just thought that this man was planning to raise sheep. No one knew that he went to town and bought a few knives at the hardware store, including ones for chopping meat and deboning. After returning home, he tied the sheep in the yard and went to the village store to buy some needles and thread. The seller saw a grown man coming to buy this and made fun of him. "Zuhua, do you have to sew clothes for yourself when your wife is not at home?" Earl looked gloomy and said nothing. That night, he approached the stupid sheep step by step with a boning knife in hand. In all his life, he had never killed anything as big as a sheep. Earl slashed the sheep's neck with his knife. He chopped the sheep several more times with great force, and the sheep died before it could even scream. It turns out that it's not that difficult to kill a living thing. Earl licked the sheep's blood on the blade and smiled. He skinned the sheep and chopped the meat and bones into pieces, feeling an indescribable sense of joy. The next day, in the evening, Earl went straight to Jax's house and said politely, "Sixth brother, are you busy? If not, come to my house and eat mutton." Jax glanced at him sideways with his triangular eyes, wondering what this man was up to. Earl quickly added, "Well, Clara is here too." "What's the matter, you want to treat me to a home banquet?" "No. I just want you to come home and talk. The three of us can talk it out. I really want to put this matter to rest." Jax pondered for a moment. He thought, this coward probably can't do anything, he must be trying to please me so that I won't sleep with his woman in the future. If that's the case, it's a waste if I don't eat the food that's already in my mouth. He put on a jacket, picked up the half-finished bottle of Baijiu on the table, and followed Earl. Along the way, Earl was very respectful and said a lot of flattering words. Jax found this quite useful. He never expected that the hidden anger in this man could burn him to ashes. When they were almost at the door of the Bai family, Jax patted Earl's shoulder hypocritically. "Brother, I don't really want to bully you. To be honest, it was your Clara who took the initiative to flirt with me, and as a man, I was in a good mood, so I..." Ugh. Earl wanted to say something, but nothing came out. Jax winked at him again. "Brother, let me tell you something else. Actually, your Clara has been slept with by everyone in the village." What? Now, Earl was shocked. He never expected that things would turn out like this. It's like this, you just happened to bump into me that day, and you accepted me as your lover. Actually, there are many people who cheat on you. Jax took a sip of his drink and stepped into the yard laughing. Earl was so angry that his hands were shaking uncontrollably. But he suppressed it without making a sound. "Sixth brother, please sit down first. I'll go to the inner room and call Clara out." Jax believed it and sat down at the table in the main room, banging wine bottles loudly. Earl quietly pulled out a hidden shovel from behind the door, put all his strength into it, and hit him on the back of the head with a bang. Jax groaned and fell to the ground, his legs twitching. Earl went forward to check and found that the body was still breathing. He took out a bundle of thick hemp rope from the house, tied Jax up, stuffed a dirty rag in his mouth, and dragged him into the kitchen. Then he pulled out a red-hot iron from the kitchen stove hole and pressed it hard on Jax's lower body. All of a sudden, with a few sizzling sounds, Jax woke up from the severe pain, but with a rag stuffed in his mouth, he could not scream no matter what, and could only twist his body wildly. "Are you still going to sleep with Clara this time?" Earl, with an expressionless face, was illuminated by the flickering firelight from the stove pit, looking like a ferocious god. Jax shook his head vigorously. "It's too late. It's too late." 05. Earl stood up, took a boning knife from the kitchen stove, put it on the whetstone and started sharpening it. Jax's eyes no longer had the arrogance and dominance of the past, only fear remained. Sometimes, when you are a human being, you really can't go too far. As Earl spoke, he cut Jax's shoulder with a knife. Blood immediately gushed out. "Sixth brother, do you understand this?" Jax nodded vigorously. Earl sneered, went back to the main room and got the remaining half bottle of Bilaugon, and took a can of coarse salt from the kitchen stove. Then, pour wine on the wound and sprinkle a handful of salt. Jax was in excruciating pain and sweat was pouring down his body. In this way, throughout the whole night, this cruel man cut his enemy's body more than 30 times, deliberately avoiding those vital parts, just to make him suffer the torture of lynching. Finally, seeing that Jax was almost dead, Earl changed to a boning knife, slashed his neck several times, and chopped off his head. "Mr. Wong, you bastard, you deserve this day." Earl held the head in his hand and hung it on the kitchen wall. The rest of the remains were all buried in the yard. After finishing all this overnight, Earl felt more comfortable than ever before. He felt the edge of the bed and fell asleep. That night, he dreamed that Clara was lying on top of him, twisting her body desperately. When I woke up the next day, it was already noon. Earl thought of what Jax said, that his wife had had sex with so many people, and suddenly he felt ashamed and angry. Let this woman die too. He muttered to himself as he walked out of the house and headed towards his mother-in-law's house. Mabel saw him coming from a distance and began to taunt him again. "I've figured it out. I'm going to take her back and get a divorce." Mabel was skeptical, but still called Clara out. Earl looked at this promiscuous woman, suppressed his anger, and begged her humbly to go home so that he could get a divorce. Clara thought, since he had thought it through, it would be better for him to end their relationship as soon as possible. After all, she was not afraid of him. So, the two of them walked home, one in front of the other, without saying a word on the way. After entering the house, Clara smelled the strong smell of blood and started to lose her temper again. "Don't you know how to clean up after you slaughter a sheep? Why does the house stink so badly?" "Stinky? Can it be stinkier than your body?" Earl laughed. Clara was annoyed. "What did you say? You want Jax to beat you up again, right?" "He's in the kitchen," Earl pointed. "Why don't you go ask him?" Clara was stunned, walked into the kitchen, looked up and saw the hanging head, and was immediately frightened out of her wits. She was about to scream when Earl hit her from behind with a shovel and she was knocked unconscious. Next, this murderous man did the same thing to Clara, using the same method he used on Jax. While sprinkling salt, he was still cursing bitterly. "You bitch, I can't wait to eat your flesh." Soon, Clara died from excessive blood loss. At this time, Earl's brain had been completely occupied by the brutal feeling of killing. He had lost all rationality, as if he wanted to vent all the anger he had suffered in his life. He looked at Clara's naked body and thought of her cheating. He was so angry that he cut the body with a knife, burned the corpse's face with a branding iron, and pulled out all her fingernails. His entire personality has become perverted and twisted. In a small village late at night, under the dim fire, a human skin doll with a grim face was sleeping on the floor. A man next to it was cutting meat with an indifferent look on his face. The click sound of chopping knife is creepy in the quiet night. Meat, obviously human flesh. Put it in a big pot, add water, boil it, sprinkle in salt, soy sauce, and star anise one by one. Earl cooked it carefully. No one would have thought that at this point, he was still planning to take revenge on more people. The next day, it was noon again. Mabel was sweeping the yard when she saw a man in the distance, carrying a large pot and walking towards her. "Why are you here again?" "Mom, Clara, and I are not arguing anymore. I cooked a pot of mutton this morning to honor you. TSK, I wonder if you two can keep quiet for a few days." Despite what she said, Mabel still took the pot, opened it and saw a pot full of stewed meat with a strange aroma wafting out. She brought it into the house and everyone gathered together to eat the stew. "Why does this mutton taste weird? Is it mutton?" Mabel tasted several pieces and agreed that the stew tasted drier than the lamb. "There is not so much oil, and there is no mutton smell." "Never mind, it's a waste if I don't eat the meat that's already in my mouth," Mabel thought. Although they were suspicious, the family still ate all the meat in the pot. Not only Mabel's family, but many people in the village also enjoyed the stew sent by Earl. He divided the meat into many bowls and delivered them door to door. Some people thought it was strange and refused to accept it, but most of the villagers accepted it with a smile. Around 9 o'clock that evening, Mabel received a call. "Mom, have you eaten the stew?" "I ate it, and it tasted bad. Don't make it next time. I really can't eat what you made." "Mom, don't worry, there won't be a next time." Earl smiled sinisterly. "After all, you only have this one daughter." Mabel sensed something was wrong. "What do you mean?" "The meat you ate belonged to Clara." At that moment, Mabel felt as if struck by lightning and fainted immediately. As for Earl, this man who had lost all humanity, he was lying limp in the yard. He knew that his final judgment was approaching. After receiving the report, the police quickly arrived at Earl's home. The arrest could be described as effortless. The man lay on the ground without any resistance and was captured. He even told the police that he had avenged himself and just hoped to be sent away as soon as possible. The criminal police handling the case at the scene had a general understanding of his experience before, and they felt a little regretful at the time. However, when they witnessed the bloody scene in the Bai family's kitchen, even these police officers were frightened to the point of their hair standing on end. "This guy is just like a demon in human skin." It was the oldest captain present who said, "Normal. When an honest person is pushed into a corner, he will do anything." A year later, the court sentenced him to Earl death penalty for intentional homicide. In the community, some people tend to be submissive by nature, giving people the impression that they are honest, weak, and easy to bully. But once these people's bottom line is crossed, they will often face more brutal, even bottomless, retaliation. It's like a super elastic rubber band that can be stretched longer, but the force of its rebound is unimaginable. When these people who have been overly oppressed rebel in anger, they will become the most callous and cold-blooded executioners, just like Earl.